"He who finds a wife finds a treasure," says the Bible. But do you know what else it considered treasure? Financial wisdom. In an age where inflation devours savings and cryptocurrencies promise easy riches, there's one source of wisdom that has stood the test of time for over 3,000 years. Imagine having access to the financial secrets that allowed the Jewish people not just to survive, but to thrive through exiles, persecutions, and global economic crises. Today, I'll share with you 11 biblical rules for financial stewardship that have literally changed the destiny of entire generations. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. This first principle is revolutionary in its simplicity. We don't truly own anything. Everything we have, from our bank accounts to our businesses, is ultimately God's property. We're not owners, we're managers. Consider Solomon building the temple. When gathering the vast resources needed, he acknowledged, "But who am I? And who are my people, that we should be able to give as generously as this? Everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your hand." 1 Chronicles 29:14. Even as the wealthiest king in Israel's history, Solomon understood his role as a steward rather than an owner. In today's context, this principle transforms every financial decision. It's like being the manager of a large store. Every dollar spent, every investment made, every decision taken must be made, considering that we're managing resources that don't belong to us. Michael, a real estate developer, completely transformed his approach to business after embracing this principle. Instead of viewing his properties as personal assets, he began seeing them as resources entrusted to him for the community's benefit. He started incorporating affordable housing units in his developments and creating green spaces for public use. Within 2 years, his company became known as the most trusted developer in the city, and his occupancy rates rose to 98% even during market downturns. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Our second principle reveals a counterintuitive truth. Giving first leads to greater abundance. This isn't a prosperity gospel promise, it's a fundamental law of spiritual economics. Think of Abraham and Melchizedek. After winning a great victory, Abraham didn't hoard the spoils. Instead, he gave a tenth to Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High, before taking anything for himself. This act of putting God first established a pattern that would influence generations. Look around at successful businesses across industries. Companies that prioritize giving back consistently outperform their peers. Research shows that businesses with strong corporate responsibility programs see 20% higher customer loyalty rates and 50% lower employee turnover. From tech giants to local shops, those who give first often find themselves blessed with sustainable growth. Take small businesses during the 2020 economic downturn. While many restaurants struggled, some neighborhood delis and cafes thrived by first taking care of their communities. They donated meals to healthcare workers and elderly neighbors, set up pay-it-forward programs, and prioritized their employees' well-being over profits. Remarkably, many of these giving-focused businesses not only survived, but emerged stronger, with devoted customer bases and strengthened community ties. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. Our third principle challenges the hustle culture mentality. True wealth comes from divine blessing, not endless straining and striving. This doesn't mean we don't work hard. It means we work from a place of rest and wisdom rather than anxious toiling. Consider Ruth in the fields of Boaz. She worked diligently, but not frantically. Her approach wasn't to gather as much as possible through exhausting labor. Instead, she positioned herself wisely, followed divine guidance, and found herself in a field where the owner had been commanded by God to leave harvest for the poor. Her story shows how divine provision often works through wisdom rather than wear and tear. In our modern economy, this principle manifests in unexpected ways. Many people believe working 80-hour weeks is the only path to success. Yet studies consistently show that productivity sharply declines after 40 hours, and sustained overwork leads to burnout, health problems, and decreased innovation. Jennifer's tech startup embodies this principle perfectly. Unlike her competitors, who praise sleepless nights and constant hustle, she built her company on the radical idea of a 32-hour work week. She focused on efficiency, automation, and employee well-being. The result? Her team's productivity soared, creativity flourished, and the company reached profitability twice as fast as the industry average. A faithful person will be richly blessed, but one eager to get rich will not go unpunished. Our fourth principle addresses patience in wealth building. Quick riches often lead to quick ruin, while faithful stewardship produces lasting wealth. Look at King Hezekiah's financial reforms. When he found the kingdom's treasuries empty, he didn't seek quick fixes or impose crushing taxes. Instead, he systematically restored proper temple worship, reorganized the priesthood's provisions, and established storehouses for the increase. His patient, systematic approach led to such abundance that new storerooms had to be built. Today's investment world perfectly illustrates this principle. While headlines celebrate overnight cryptocurrency millionaires and meme stock fortunes, data tells a different story. Over 90% of day traders lose money, while patient investors who consistently invest in diversified portfolios over decades build sustainable wealth. The transformation of America's Rust Belt cities demonstrates this principle on a larger scale. Cities that chased quick fixes through casino development or speculative projects often struggled, while those that invested in long-term community development, education, and sustainable industries saw genuine revival. Pittsburgh's 20-year journey from steel crisis to tech hub showcases how patient, faithful rebuilding creates lasting prosperity. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would increase abundantly. Ask now the former generation, and prepare yourself for the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days on earth are a shadow. Shall they not teach you, and tell you, and utter words from their hearts? Our fifth principle emphasizes the value of generational wisdom in financial matters. True financial intelligence isn't just about new strategies and modern techniques, it's about learning from those who came before us. Consider young King Rehoboam's tragic mistake. When faced with crucial financial decisions for his kingdom, he rejected the seasoned counsel of his father's advisors in favor of his young peers' aggressive strategies. The result? His kingdom split in two. This cautionary tale shows how dismissing generational wisdom can lead to financial disaster. Today, this principle plays out in fascinating ways. While many chase the latest financial fads and trading algorithms, the world's most successful family businesses operate differently. Companies like Rothschild Bank have survived for over 200 years by carefully passing down time-tested principles from generation to generation. Maria, a fourth-generation olive oil producer in Greece, embodies this principle perfectly. While competitors rushed to modernize everything, she balanced innovation with tradition. She maintained her great-grandmother's quality standards and relationship-based business approach while strategically implementing new technology. During the economic crisis, when many agricultural businesses failed, her company not only survived but expanded into new markets, proving that honoring generational wisdom creates resilience. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than birds. Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Luke. Our sixth principle addresses one of the biggest financial destroyers: anxiety. Financial worry doesn't add to our wealth, it often leads to poor decisions and missed opportunities. Look at the Israelites gathering manna in the wilderness. Those who anxiously hoarded more than they needed found their excess spoiled by mourning. Meanwhile, those who trusted God's daily provision had exactly what they needed. It's a powerful lesson about the relationship between trust and provision. This principle is revolutionizing the American workplace. A growing number of Fortune 500 companies are implementing financial wellness programs that address not just practical money management, but also the psychological aspects of financial stress. Companies like MasterCard and Microsoft have seen healthcare costs decrease by 15% and productivity increase by 20% after helping employees develop a healthier relationship with money. Take Tom, a small business owner from Kansas City. During the 2008 financial crisis, instead of panicking and laying off staff like his competitors, he gathered his team and transparently shared the company's situation. Together, they created innovative solutions to cut costs while maintaining jobs. His trust-based approach not only saved the business, but strengthened it. By 2010. His construction company had doubled its market share, while much larger competitors had folded. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. Do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Do not crave their delicacies, for that food is deceptive. Our seventh principle warns against the seduction of get-rich-quick schemes and the trap of greed. True wealth isn't about clever tricks or aggressive pursuit, it's about steady, ethical growth. Remember Gehazi, servant of Elisha, who couldn't resist the temptation of Naaman's wealth. His greed led him to lie and scheme, ultimately costing him everything. His story serves as a powerful warning about the price of pursuing wealth through deception. In the American investment landscape, this principle plays out daily on Wall Street. While headlines focus on spectacular trading wins, the Securities and Exchange Commission reports that investment scams cost Americans over $14 billion annually. The most devastating losses often come from schemes that promise unusually high returns with supposedly little risk. The contrast can be seen in the story of Midwest manufacturer Weber Grills. While competitors chased quick profits through overseas production and cost-cutting, Weber maintained its commitment to American manufacturing and quality. Despite facing intense pressure to maximize short-term profits, they focused on sustainable growth. Today, while many competitors have gone bankrupt or been sold off, Weber remains a family-owned business with a devoted customer base and consistent profitability, proving that steady, ethical business practices outperform clever shortcuts. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Our eighth principle addresses the true purpose of wealth. It's not just about accumulation, but about impact and legacy. Wealth without purpose becomes a burden, rather than a blessing. Consider Solomon's son, Rehoboam. He inherited incredible wealth, but lacked purpose and wisdom in using it. Instead of seeing his resources as a tool for strengthening his nation, he viewed them as a means for personal luxury and power. This misunderstanding of wealth's purpose led to the kingdom's division. This principle is reshaping corporate America's understanding of success. The rise of impact investing has grown from $8 billion in 2012 to over $715 billion in 2020. Companies like Patagonia have redefined business success by making environmental stewardship their core mission. When founder Yvon Chouinard transferred ownership to a trust dedicated to fighting climate change, it demonstrated how profit and purpose can align perfectly. Dave's story from Minneapolis illustrates this on a personal level. After selling his software company for $40 million, he faced a crisis of purpose. Instead of buying a bigger house or a yacht, he used his wealth to launch an incubator for minority-owned businesses in underserved neighborhoods. 5 years later, his incubator has helped launch over 100 successful businesses, created 200 local jobs, and generated more personal satisfaction than any luxury purchase could have provided. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors, as it is today. If you ever forget the Lord your God, and follow other gods, and worship and bow down to them, I testify against you today that you will surely be destroyed. Like the nations the Lord destroyed before you, so you will be destroyed for not obeying the Lord your God. Our ninth principle reminds us that the ability to create wealth is itself a gift. Success in business or investing isn't just about our skills or efforts, it's about recognizing and honoring the source of our abilities. Consider the story of Bezalel in Exodus. God specifically gifted him with skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts for building the tabernacle. He recognized his talents as divine gifts and used them accordingly, creating works of exceptional beauty and value. This principle has found surprising validation in recent studies of American entrepreneurs. A 2022 Stanford survey of 500 successful business founders revealed that 78% attribute their success to factors beyond their control: early opportunities, mentors, or being in the right place at the right time. This acknowledgement of external factors correlates strongly with business longevity and ethical practices. The transformation of Detroit's Eastern Market District exemplifies this principle in action. A coalition of local business owners rejected the typical gentrification approach. Instead, acknowledging their role as stewards rather than saviors, they worked to preserve the market's historic character while creating opportunities for long-time residents. They established a micro-loan program for local vendors and provided mentorship to new entrepreneurs. Today, Eastern Market stands as one of America's few revitalized urban markets that managed to grow without displacing its original community. Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again. Our 10th principle teaches us about strategic risk-taking. Unlike reckless gambling, biblical risk-taking involves wisdom, patience, and faith in future returns. Remember when David invested in gathering materials for a temple he would never build? He took a risk, preparing for a future he wouldn't see, trusting that his efforts would bear fruit through the next generation. This long-term vision exemplifies wise risk-taking. Today's most innovative American companies embody this principle. When Amazon invested heavily in AWS in 2006, many analysts called it a foolish distraction from their retail business. Jeff Bezos described it as casting bread upon the waters. By 2023, AWS had become the company's most profitable division, generating over $80 billion in annual revenue. Sandy's story in rural Nebraska shows how this works on a smaller scale. During the 2012 drought, while other farmers cut back, she invested heavily in water-efficient irrigation systems. It seemed risky at the time, requiring significant loans. But within 3 years, her farm's productivity had increased by 40%, while using 30% less water. Her bread upon the waters returned as both financial and environmental benefits. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Our final principle comes from the parable of the talents, teaching us about the multiplication of resources. It's not just about preserving what we have, it's about actively growing and developing our resources. The biblical example goes beyond the familiar parable. Consider how Joseph in Egypt didn't just store grain. During the 7 plentiful years, he developed an entire economic system that transformed Egypt into the ancient world's most powerful economy. His active management of resources saved not just Egypt, but surrounding nations. This principle is reshaping modern American entrepreneurship. Studies from the Federal Reserve show that businesses that reinvest 20% or more of their profits consistently outperform those focused on maintaining the status quo. Even during economic downturns, companies prioritizing reinvestment and development show 35% better survival rates. Take the transformation of Austin, Texas. In the 1990s, city leaders didn't just save their technology sector revenues, they actively reinvested in infrastructure, education, and quality of life initiatives. While other tech hubs struggled with sustainability, Austin built a diverse, resilient economy that continues to attract talent and capital, demonstrating how wise reinvestment multiplies resources across an entire community. These 11 principles aren't just ancient wisdom, they're timeless truths that work in every economic season. From personal finances to business leadership, from market volatility to generational wealth, these biblical principles provide a framework for true financial prosperity. The beauty of these principles is their interconnected nature. Like a master key, each one unlocks deeper understanding of the others. Together, they form a complete system for financial stewardship that honors God and serves others. As you implement these principles in your own life, I'd love to hear your story. Which of these principles resonates most with your current financial journey? Has your family passed down any biblical financial wisdom that's helped you succeed? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more biblical wisdom for modern life. Together, we can build a community of faithful stewards who support and encourage one another.